What if the next economic battle in North America isn't happening on the battlefield, but quietly behind closed doors, inside trade negotiations, tariffs, and political strategy? Most people see Canada and the United States as close allies, neighbors with one of the strongest relationships in the world. But behind that friendly partnership, a quiet economic struggle has been unfolding, and it could shape the future of trade, jobs, and industries across the entire continent. Because when a political figure like Donald Trump talks about tariffs, trade deals, and protecting American industries, Canada is often right in the middle of the conversation. And, on the other side, Canada's leadership, including figures like Mark Carney, must decide how to respond while protecting Canada's own economy. This quiet back and forth has created what some analysts are calling a hidden economic battle between two of the world's closest partners. Now, before we dive deeper into this story, if you enjoy simple explanations of global politics and economic strategy, make sure to like the video and subscribe to Maple and Eagle. This channel breaks down the hidden forces shaping global power and international relationships in a way that's easy to understand. Your support really helps us continue bringing you these deep dive stories. To understand why this economic tension exists, we first need to understand just how connected the United States and Canada actually are. Every single day, billions of dollars worth of goods cross the border between these two countries. Cars, energy, lumber, food products, technology components, the list is almost endless. In fact, the trade relationship between the United States and Canada is one of the largest in the entire world. But when trade is this massive, even small policy changes can have huge consequences. During his political career, Donald Trump made it clear that he believed many trade deals were unfair to American industries. His approach was simple but powerful. If he believed another country had an advantage, the United States should renegotiate the deal or impose tariffs to protect American workers. This strategy created major headlines during negotiations that led to the replacement of NAFTA with the modern trade agreement known as the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. While the new agreement maintained the strong economic partnership between the three countries, it also introduced new rules, new pressure points, and new negotiations that continue even today. Trade agreements are never truly finished. They are constantly being reviewed, adjusted, and challenged as industries change and political priorities evolve. And that's where the hidden economic battle begins. For example, consider the auto industry. Cars built in North America often contain parts that move across the US-Canada border multiple times before the final vehicle is assembled. A single engine component might start in Canada, be refined in the United States, and then return to Canada again during production. If tariffs suddenly appear on those components, the entire supply chain can be disrupted. Then there is the energy relationship. Canada is actually one of the largest energy suppliers to the United States. Oil, natural gas, and electricity flow across the border every day, supporting American industries and households. But energy policy in Washington can quickly change the balance of this relationship. Decisions about pipelines, environmental regulations, and domestic energy production can all influence how much the United States relies on Canadian resources. And of course, we cannot ignore one of the most famous trade disputes between the two countries, lumber. For decades, the United States and Canada have argued over softwood lumber exports. American producers have often claimed that Canadian lumber receives unfair government support, while Canada argues that its forestry system simply operates differently. The result has been repeated tariff battles that impact construction costs, housing markets, and thousands of jobs on both sides of the border. What makes this situation fascinating is that both countries depend heavily on each other. The United States is Canada's largest trading partner, and Canada is one of the most important partners for the United States. Neither country can easily walk away from the relationship. Instead, they must constantly negotiate, adjust, and respond to each other's economic strategies. From the outside, the relationship still looks strong and cooperative. Leaders hold meetings, trade continues flowing, and both governments emphasize their partnership. But underneath that cooperation lies a complicated reality. Every policy decision, from tariffs to environmental regulations, can tilt the economic balance slightly in one direction or the other. And that is why analysts sometimes describe the situation as a quiet economic chess match. Each move matters. Each policy announcement sends signals to industries, investors, and governments watching closely. The real question is not whether the United States and Canada will remain allies. They almost certainly will. The real question is how the economic balance between them might evolve as new political leadership, global competition, and shifting industries reshape the future of North American trade. And when we look deeper into those forces, the hidden economic battle becomes even more interesting, because the next moves in this economic chess match may already be unfolding behind the scenes. As this quiet economic chess match continues, the real tension is not always visible in headlines. Instead, It shows up in policy decisions, trade reviews, and strategic moves that slowly shape the balance between two massive economies. When leaders in Washington make decisions about tariffs or domestic industry protection, those choices don't stay inside the United States. They ripple across the border and land directly on Canada's economy. One of the biggest reasons this relationship becomes so sensitive is because Canada OS economy is deeply connected to the American market. A huge percentage of Canadian exports go directly to the United States. From automobiles and energy to minerals and manufactured goods, Canada depends heavily on access to American consumers and businesses. That means when the United States changes trade rules, Canadian industries feel the effects almost immediately. And this is where the strategy behind leaders like Donald Trump becomes important to understand. Trump built much of his economic message around the idea of protecting American workers and bringing manufacturing back to the United States. His approach often involved pressuring trade partners to renegotiate deals, adjust policies, or accept new terms that he believed would favor American industries. For Canada, responding to that pressure is not simple. Canadian leaders must protect their own industries while also maintaining a strong relationship with their largest trading partner. That balancing act requires careful diplomacy and economic strategy. Figures such as Mark Carney and other policymakers must constantly analyze how U.S. policy changes could impact Canadian jobs, exports, and long-term economic growth. One area where this tension becomes especially visible is manufacturing. Many North American industries operate as a shared production network rather than separate national systems. A product assembled in the United States may contain Canadian aluminum, Mexican components, and American technology. These integrated supply chains make the region highly efficient, but they also make it extremely sensitive to tariffs or trade barriers. Imagine a car manufacturer that relies on aluminum from Canada to produce vehicles in American factories. If tariffs suddenly increase on that aluminum, the cost of producing the car rises. That increase can spread through the entire supply chain, affecting prices, jobs, and investment decisions. Companies may begin reconsidering where they produce certain components or which suppliers they rely on. Another major factor shaping this hidden economic battle is energy. Canada is one of the largest suppliers of energy to the United States. Oil pipelines, electricity grids, and natural gas networks connect the two economies in ways that most people never see. This energy relationship has historically benefited both countries. The United States gains reliable access to resources, while Canada gains access to one of the largest energy markets in the world. However, changes in American energy policy can quickly alter this balance. If the United States increases domestic production or shifts toward new energy technologies, Canadian exporters may face new competition or reduced demand. On the other hand, if energy cooperation expands, both countries could benefit from stronger integration of their power systems and infrastructure. There's also a broader global dimension to consider. The United States is not only competing economically with Canada, it is also competing with major powers around the world. Decisions about trade and industry are often influenced by competition with other global economies. When American leaders talk about strengthening domestic manufacturing or securing supply chains, they are often thinking about long-term global competition. Canada finds itself in a unique position within that larger strategy. As a close ally with vast natural resources and advanced industries, Canada can be both a partner and a competitor, depending on the situation. Sometimes, the two countries work closely together to strengthen North American supply chains. Other times, they compete for investment, factories, and technological leadership. This delicate balance creates moments of friction that appear in trade disputes. Softwood lumber is one famous example, but it is not the only one. Disagreements have also appeared around dairy products, agricultural exports, and industrial materials. Each dispute represents a small part of the broader economic negotiation constantly happening between the two nations. Yet despite these disagreements, the relationship remains incredibly resilient. Businesses on both sides of the border rely heavily on the integrated North American market. Millions of jobs depend on cross-border trade. Investors understand that stability between the United States and Canada benefits the entire region. That's why most experts believe this hidden economic battle will not turn into an open conflict. Instead, it will likely continue as a series of negotiations, adjustments, and strategic decisions that slowly reshape the economic balance between the two countries. But there is one factor that could make the future of this relationship even more unpredictable. Political leadership can change quickly, and new leaders often bring new priorities. And if those priorities shift dramatically, the next phase of this economic chess match could look very different from the one we see today. And this is where the story becomes even more interesting. Because the future of this hidden economic battle may not depend only on trade numbers or supply chains. It may depend on politics, leadership, and the direction both countries choose in the next decade. When a major political figure like Donald Trump talks about reshaping global trade, the entire world pays attention. His approach has always been clear: prioritize American industries, reduce dependence on foreign supply chains, and push for trade agreements that give the United States a stronger advantage. Supporters see this as protecting American workers and rebuilding manufacturing strength. Critics worry it could create tension with longtime allies. For Canada, these shifts in American policy can create both risks and opportunities. On one hand, tighter American trade policies could make it harder for Canadian industries to access the U.S. market. On the other hand, Canada could position itself as a reliable partner for global supply chains, attracting investment from companies looking for stability and access to North American markets. This is where leaders such as Mark Carney and other Canadian policymakers face difficult choices. They must decide how closely Canada should align with U.S. economic strategy, while also protecting Canada's independence and long-term growth. One possible path is deeper North American integration. In this scenario, Canada and the United States strengthen cooperation in key sectors like energy, technology, and manufacturing. Supply chains become even more interconnected, making the region more competitive against other global economic powers. This approach would build on agreements like the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, which already forms the backbone of regional trade. But another possibility is quiet diversification. Canada could expand trade relationships with other global partners while still maintaining strong ties with the United States. This would reduce economic risk if American policies become more protectionist in the future. Over the past decade, Canada has already explored stronger partnerships with Europe and Asia to broaden its economic reach. And this is what makes the situation so fascinating. The United States and Canada are not just neighbors. They are deeply connected economies with shared industries, shared infrastructure, and shared security interests. Yet at the same time, each country must protect its own national interests. That means the relationship will always include a mix of cooperation and competition. Think of it less like a traditional rivalry and more like a strategic partnership where both sides constantly negotiate their position. Sometimes those negotiations happen publicly through trade disputes and headlines. Other times, they happen quietly behind closed doors in meetings between government officials, business leaders, and diplomats. Meanwhile, global forces continue to reshape the environment around them. Rapid technological change, evolving energy markets, and shifting geopolitical alliances all influence how North America positions itself in the global economy. For example, the race for critical minerals used in advanced technologies is becoming increasingly important. Canada possesses vast natural resources that could play a major role in future industries such as electric vehicles, renewable energy systems, and advanced electronics. If managed carefully, these resources could strengthen Canada's strategic importance within the North American economic system. At the same time, the United States remains one of the most powerful economic engines in the world. Its massive consumer market, technological innovation, and financial influence ensure that American decisions will continue shaping global trade patterns. So the question isn't whether the United States and Canada will remain partners. That partnership is too valuable for both sides to abandon. The real question is how the balance of power inside that partnership will evolve. Will North America become an even more integrated economic powerhouse, with Canada and the United States working closely to compete globally? Or will subtle tensions over trade, tariffs, and industrial policy slowly shift the dynamics between them? The answer will unfold over years, through elections, negotiations, and economic strategies that most people never see. And that's exactly why understanding these hidden economic battles matters. Because the policies shaping global trade today will influence jobs, industries, and economic stability for millions of people tomorrow. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe to Maple and Eagle for more deep dive stories about global politics, economic strategy, and the forces shaping the future of international power. And now we want to hear from you. Do you think the United States and Canada will grow even closer economically in the coming years? Or do you believe tensions over trade and industry will increase? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to share this video with someone who enjoys understanding the hidden dynamics of global politics. Because sometimes the biggest battles in the world aren't fought with weapons. They're fought with economics,